Hello and welcome to the Guardian Football Weekly. Another disappointing night for the Premier League clubs in the Champions League. Federico Valverde with one of the touches of the season, cushioning it over Marc Guéhi before hammering home a first-half hat-trick. All three goals were brilliantly taken. It could have been worse for Man City. Donnarumma saving a penalty before Thibaut Courtois did one of his trademark ridiculous saves. In Paris, Chelsea were good against PSG for 70-odd minutes. Then Kvaratskhelia came on. Jörgensen made a mistake and it ended 5-2. Meanwhile, Arsenal scrape a draw in Leverkusen. Madueke making the most of minimal contact to win a penalty and let Kai Havertz score against his former club. And then Bodo, the latest episode of, now that's what I call the greatest performance by a Norwegian side in Europe ever. They were comprehensive against Sporting. We'll do a Premier League preview, discuss Iran and the World Cup and the Iranian women's team in Australia. We'll answer your questions on this very special Happy Birthday Barry Guardian Football Weekly. On the panel today, the man himself, the man of the moment. Happy 53rd birthday, Barry Glendenning.
Thank you very much, Max. I'm feeling every minute of my 53 years on this planet.
You don't look a day older than 52, I would say. Archie, Rhind-Tutt, welcome.
Max, delighted. I was surprised given that this was an invite-only pod, but, just happy to make it. Yeah.
Of course. Welcome, Nicky Bandini.
Happy birthday, Baz.
There we are. Should we begin with the cake? Will he be upset? Maybe let's begin at the Bernabeu.
I've got a
card. Have you got a card? Okay.
Yeah.
Show it. This is for the YouTube viewers.
It says, "Lucky for you, I like older men."
Oh, that's good stuff. Let's start with the Bernabeu. Real 3, Man City 0. James Bench from CBS said, best hat-trick since Bergkamp at Filbert Street? It's a good question, isn't it? It was, Nicky, so brilliant. The third goal, as I mentioned in the intro, that touch is like I made a noise. I was like, this is beautiful. We saw some good touches the day before, some bad ones from Tottenham players, but this was absolute elite.
Yeah, I hope you're not going to put me on the spot for best hat trick, but the goal was outrageous. There was that clip, wasn't there, of Jude Bellingham that I think everyone saw that just kind of summed it up, because he had this. It went from the open mouth and then he just started laughing, and I think that's what a lot of us did when you see a goal like that. Sometimes your instinct is just to start laughing because it's so outrageous, and I think that it's one thing to talk about the actual technique of it, which is, as you say, absolutely sensational, from the flick to the softness of the finish, because it's really easy, I think, probably just to welly that and lose control of it, but actually to do it in that context of this big Champions League game when Real Madrid haven't been playing well. I think that was, maybe people went too far with the Real Madrid a terrible line, because they are still second in La Liga, but they haven't been playing well recently, and against Manchester City. And when you are, I suppose, in this moment when the whole stadium is rocking and everything's going off, to have the composure to finish it like that was astonishing. They were all good goals. The first one, probably the one that got the most help from Donnarumma not sticking his hand out, but they were all good goals. But that third one was something else.
Yeah, and actually, Archie, we sort of talk quite a lot when somebody kicks it badly. See Antonin Kinkski, but we don't spend a lot of time analysing just a good kick of a football. And I mean, I know it sounds so basic, but it is quite an important part of all of this. They train quite a lot of the time kicking a ball, and just that the control that these footballers have, these elite footballers have, is just something that we should occasionally stop to appreciate.
Because you brought him up, it's worth mentioning that Thibaut Courtois said he slid into Antonin Kinkski's DMs saying to him, look, I know what happened at Atleti. We've all been there. The pitch there is terrible, so it's not on you. To come back to your original point, the flight at which he sends that ball on, and the fact, I looked it up, from the ball leaving Courtois' foot to the ball being in the net is 8 seconds. So for the ball to travel that quickly.
Is this the first goal? This is the opening goal, right?
For Courtois, that when you were talking about Courtois there, that was the kick I thought you meant.
No, I don't mean the kick from Courtois. I mean the control cushion over Marc Guéhi. I mean, they're all good. I'm still talking about Valverde and his flicking it over Guéhi. I'm still on the third goal, which is the best goal.
I heard. Well, it is. It is, but there's something like we could analyze the touch for the first goal. Is how I'm going to try and manifest this back towards that, because the cushion from Valverde is the perfect touch from there as well, and also you see Donnarumma get caught in two minds as to should I bring him down, which is funny because in the second half when Vinicius goes past him, he seems to remember actually I'm really quite good at saving penalties. So you know what? Let's get him down, and I've probably got a better chance at that because to the goal that you are talking about originally, the fact that you can make a little cuckoo sound when he puts the ball over Guéhi is kind of part of the magic of it, and it's the feeling of no, he's not about to, he's just done that, and this is a guy who has had to play right back this season due to injuries that Real Madrid have had to Carvajal and to Trent Alexander-Arnold as well, and said in a press conference at one point, I wasn't born to be a right back. And I think if there was ever going to be a game which is going to show, you know what, I don't think you'll have to play there again because the memories of this will just linger so large. But outstanding just array of finishing in the space of 22 minutes. It's an outrageous hat-trick, and in the realm of great hat-tricks, there's only one that really always stands out as being the best hat-trick, which is Rivaldo's hat-trick where he scores 3 from outside the area, including one which finishes with an overhead kick. It's Valencia 2001. Of course, never had to YouTube that at all.
Yeah, that's fine.
There was a context to that. It was a Champions League place on the line, wasn't there? I can't remember exactly what it was, but I have a feeling it had a knock-on impact for other European clubs because of who'd got in through the cups. It was one of those goals that had like a really significant knock-on as well. So it wasn't just a magnificent hat trick. It was a big one. Sorry, that's a complete off track.
That's
moment.
fine. Just the final bit on the third goal is that the assist from Brahim Diaz was brilliant, and actually was a good Panenka, even if it wasn't a Panenka, since we mentioned it yesterday. If we're splitting hairs, Barry, the second goal lets him down a bit because it's just an okay, good finish, in terms of a brilliant hat trick.
Yeah, it was an okay, good finish, and it needed a bit of luck because then the ball popped up off Ruben Diaz, the squared pass from Vinny Jr. But the way he got the run on Nico O'Reilly, who had a fairly torrid evening, he really got the run around, and Guéhi as well for the third one. Welcome to the Champions League, Mark. You're in with the big boys now. But it was still a very nice finish, and it was a brilliant hat trick. It was a brilliant captain's performance from him. There was talk earlier in the season. He, as someone has mentioned already, he really was unhappy at having to play right back. He was right side of midfield last night. He's played all over the place, everywhere except in goal early this season. And I thought he was really good in defence as well. He worked really hard to provide cover for Trent Alexander-Arnold when Jeremy Doku got on the ball, and just a brilliant all-round performance. And this is a Real Madrid team that had no Mbappe, no Jude Bellingham, no Rodrigo, among other absentees. Crowbarring all those players into the side is an issue when they're all fit, because if they had been fit, Brahim Diaz probably wouldn't have been playing last night, either with Arda Güler. And maybe them being injured benefited Real Madrid last night. I certainly wasn't expecting this level of performance from them, or indeed from City. So I'd give City a chance of turning this around, but a very small one.
Because City did have some moments going forward, and in particular, Doku was looking at certain times like he could really menace Trent Alexander-Arnold. And there's one moment where you just have Valverde, he literally is running past Trent Alexander, and he puts his hand on his shoulder for a moment, almost like he's using him to be out the way now, I'll deal with this. And you're thinking you're scoring a hat-trick at one end, you're moving Trent out the way so you can then make that sliding challenge and block Doku from getting the ball in the other end. He was astonishing last night. The goal is worth dwelling on, but his whole performance was I mean, it's very cliched with the captain's performance thing, but that is like the picture of the captain's performance.
Yeah, and I suppose, Archie, it gets to that sort of those questions about Real Madrid and kind of muscle memory, because, like, you know, Mark Langdon was saying yesterday, look, this is a great chance for City. This is a really good Real Madrid, and not where Real Madrid are normally at. And suddenly you get to this game and they just go, oh, it's the Champions League knockout, so we would just be good again. You know, it's a weird thing. We talked about the psychology. I don't want to keep bringing up Tottenham as Tottenham yesterday and, you know, what it means as a club. But like for Real Madrid, it is just that thing where they go, okay, we'll just be good again.
I think you look at all 3 goals and they all come from Courtois. They all start with moves from the back and the team recognising the necessary tempo that they have to move at because there's an opportunity there. And I think it's precisely that was missing from Manchester City. It was that instinct of, I'm going to try something, which is all that Federico Valverde, I say all that, it is a stunning goal. But his hat-trick goal is, I'm going to try something here. And teammates trusting in each other's instinct. And that's kind of what was missing from City, because I would expect Erling Haaland to be able to impose himself on this kind of occasion. I wasn't seeing enough energy from him of, give me the ball at all costs. I will wrestle it in whatever situation into my grasp. And that, I think, is the kind of energy that Real Madrid sometimes bring to these occasions. And it's so disappointing from Manchester City.
Just on Courtois, Barry, every time you watch him at this stage of this competition, he pulls off, like that save from O'Reilly is ludicrous.
It was kind of straight at him, I'm going to say. It wasn't
Okay,
a good save.
okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Baz could have made it. Baz could have stopped it.
Of course.
Am I being unkind?
You'd have headed it clear, wouldn't you?
I'd have caught it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it was a good save. I've got to say, Nick O'Reilly gave him every chance to save it. He shouldn't have had a chance to save it. But he is a tremendous player. Like the assist for the first goal wasn't just a punt upfield. That was a brilliant, inch-perfect pass. And Valverde's touch to take it away from Nick O'Reilly was amazing as well. But he's just a brilliant goalkeeper doing brilliant things in a week where other goalkeepers haven't been quite as exceptional, let's just say. And if you've got a really good, really reliable goalkeeper, I was going to say they're worth their weight in gold. I would imagine Courtois is worth far more than his weight in gold, literally, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. And actually, Donnarumma, to be fair, who has been great for City this season, you know, he saves that penalty, and that probably, Nicky, keeps them in the tie. And maybe we should wait to have this conversation until next week. But, you know, Pep only winning 1 Champions League with Man City over this period, it doesn't feel enough, does it?
Yeah, I definitely think we should wait, because I don't think that the flaws that exist within Real Madrid have disappeared. I think it'll be very hard for Man City to turn this over, but I don't think it's out of the realm of things that can happen in what feels like, I mean, it feels like this whole tournament is not just off the rails, but left the rails some time ago. Like we're in the runaway minecart and we're enjoying the ride, because it has been an incredible ride, but who knows where it's going to finish up, because and we've seen games like this. I actually think there's an extent to which this feels like vindication for those of us who thought that maybe getting rid of the away goals rule wasn't going to be a disaster for football, because we're seeing teams at home in these first legs saying, go on then, let's see if we can run up a score, let's see if we can do something and not worry if we concede as well. We'll get to the Chelsea PSG game. But Donnarumma's an interesting one. He's obviously a great goalkeeper, and he makes that penalty save late on, but he actually, because I think it's exactly as the guys were saying, like he just thinks he's inside. He thinks he's outside his area at that moment in the first goal and doesn't put his hand out. But he has a reputation in Italy originally, and still to some extent, as being a goalkeeper who has big errors in him. And this was kind of his whole nickname for a while. He did this such a silly little story, but he made an appearance as a character in an Italian kids comic book called Topolino, where they reimagined him as a because it's all Mickey Mouse type characters. They reimagined him as a duck character and called him Paperumma. Now, papera in Italian is a word that is used as slang for a goalkeeping gaff, like it's a gaff. So then he was Paperumma. He was the goalkeeper who made gaffs, and every time he made one, it got blown up. And this unfortunate decision to do something silly for a kid's comic back in the 2010s somewhere, I can't remember exactly when, became almost a thing that was added to his story. And in Italy, I think they still think, yeah, he's a good keeper. No one thinks he shouldn't be starting for the national team, but he has his moments. And I think that in the context of the tie, these things matter because, why were Madrid so much better last night? When Trent Alexander-Arnold said it on TNT in their interview afterwards, he basically said, I think I actually wrote it down, so I'll double check what he said. He said, it's the size of the game. So they show up because of the size of the game. That's kind of an admission that we try harder in certain games, which is maybe not a thing people should say, but who doesn't at some times in their work try a little bit harder because they realise all the eyes are on them? Everyone does that sometimes. And I think that the context of the Champions League, of the size of the game, and scoring that first goal shifts the game completely. City hadn't started badly. Yeah. So I think those things do matter. And I think that likewise in the second leg, if City score early, then the momentum can shift. Things can happen because Madrid aren't that good at the back. So it's not a done tie, even though it's a very hard way back from City from here.
Speaking of size, I mean, Donnarumma would be a big duck. It does lead to the, who's more likely to save a penalty, one duck-sized Donnarumma or 100 Donnarumma-sized ducks. But anyway, let's get to the Parc de Princes. PSG 5, Chelsea 2. Barry, a really good game in this. Some great goals. And actually, for quite a long time, Chelsea were good in this.
They were very good for 73 minutes. It's kind of the polar opposite of the Tottenham game. Tottenham's match was derailed by 17 minutes of goalkeeper-induced madness at the start, and Chelsea's was derailed by 17 minutes of goalkeeper-induced madness at the end. They were well in it. They came from behind twice. They were well in it, and then Filip Jörgensen had his wobble, I suppose, or the start of quite an extended wobble when he tried to play out from the back. There was no passing lane open to him. Barcola closed him down, gives the ball to Kvaratskhelia, who teed it up for Vitina, and he scored with Chelsea almost equalised again. How Pedro goal ruled offside correctly. And then Kvaratskhelia got involved, scored one brilliant goal, another very good goal. And I think from the moment he came on as a sub, that's when PSG grabbed control. They won the period he was on the pitch 3-0, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, I suppose Jørgensen, I feel like he's sort of unlucky because he's been really good. And I know Chelsea have goalkeeper issues, right? They do not have a cast iron number one. Lots of questions about Robert Sanchez. He had been so good. Like, we talk about how difficult a position it is. It is a terrible part. Like, it's not there. It's not there to be played. But I felt for him just because he'd had actually a solid performance until that moment.
I feel the fifth goal, though, is partly on his positioning and one that he should do better on as well. And the stats community will point out that PSG had an XG which was under 1 last night, which is
oh dear,
which is not a good look for a goalkeeper. And I'm trying to find different XG models because I'm like, that can't be right. And it just makes me think that actually there is something about PSG who have, I think, the highest attacking ceiling of any of the teams in the Champions League, because they can score a quality of goal that some teams can't touch. The fourth goal from Kvaratskhelia, I am still trying to work out how he is able to generate that power of such a backlift. Because
exactly.
It seems like as soon as he struck the ball, the ball's in the net. And there's this wonderful shot of a PSG fan who's a kid who's just kind of got his jaw dropped. Him like, did I just see what I just saw there after the replay? And I think that's kind of the point here as well, is that if you look at who PSG were able to bring off the bench, they were able to bring one massive difference maker off the bench, and Chelsea don't have that despite the many players that they do have. That Kvaratskhelia comes on, that he has the presence of mind. So, some players do not play that ball across when he receives it from Filip Jörgensen for Vitinha's goal. Some players think, I need to go and shoot because the goal's open now. But he has the presence of mind to go, hang on, just play it to Vitinha, who takes that touch where you think, oh, has he messed this? Oh no, he's just carefully dinking this over. And every time I think with Vitinha he's about to lose the ball is the most dangerous point. And I think that's the problem with PSG. Every time you think I've got them, if you notice for that aforementioned Kvaratskhelia, his first goal, the fourth one for PSG, he has a horseshoe of 5 Chelsea players around him when he takes that shot, and it's still not enough. So, as you say, I don't think Chelsea played too badly, and Filip Jörgensen might think, have I been done here just by some outrageous finishing? And I think the answer is probably yes.
Nicky, you're right. Like that, the fourth goal, he takes an extra touch that creates the space, and then Archie says, like, no backlift. He does remind me of Steve Claridge, like an elite level. You know, he's like
Kvaratskhelia.
Yeah, Kvaratskhelia, perfect. You know, because he's a bit scruffy, you know, and his socks are rolled down. But
Barney wrote an article likening him to Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. That
Is
works too.
Kvaratskhelia just like this incredible mirror to our psyches? Because in Napoli, everyone called him Maradona, but Max looks at him and sees Steve Claridge. Barney sees Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. You see what you want to see in Kvaratskhelia.
You see what you want to see. Yeah.
I mean, the fourth goal was extraordinary, but I kind of want to come back as well to that Vitinha goal, because it almost feels like, yes, it starts with this error from Jörgensen and Barca takes it off him, but it almost felt like just showing off for the sake of it. Like, how can we make this goal harder for ourselves? Okay, we've stolen it from the keeper, we're right in front of the goal. What if we give it to Vitinha, who's the wrong side of a defender, and we just let him go over the defender and Jörgensen again, just to add some difficulty points? It felt like that kid in the playground who's just doing it to wind everyone up at this point. We're just showing you how much better I am than you. But they were astonishing goals. There is a part of me that sometimes has felt, watching the Champions League this week, that you want to throw half out the window and say, well, it's just because that football is really good. He's just really good at the football.
Yeah.
And that's what's making a difference in what have been some quite chaotic games.
How do we feel about ball boy simulation, Barry? You know, Neto probably shouldn't do that. It's probably a red card, isn't it? But to see a ball boy like going down and holding his face like that, you are allowed to say the game was gone.
Yeah, he looked very old for a ball boy. I'm not sure,
like Steptoe,
what age this ball boy was, but obviously it's very uncharacteristic to see a lack of discipline like that from a Chelsea player, and he should have been sent off. I guess he'll probably get a ban anyway. He was profusely apologetic afterwards. I'd say half apologetic because he knows it's a bad look and he shouldn't have done it, and half apologetic trying to preempt any punishment that might be coming his way retrospectively. And yeah, it's just funny that he pushed the ball boy in the chest and he went down holding his face. Monkey see, monkey do. If you're sitting at the side of a football pitch on a regular basis, you're going to pick up a few tricks. He shoved him into the advertising hoarding. You can't be doing that, you know. It's
no. But maybe the ball boy should get at least a yellow card for simulation as well. Archie, like we've all said, City are still in this tie. You know, are we all saying Chelsea are still in this tie?
I think they are, but they're not as much in this as City are in theirs. There are moments where your biggest players have to show up and do the kind of things that PSG did, which is take the game by the scruff of its neck. And look, when PSG go 2-1 up, Chelsea could be going 2-1 up. And it's not saying that Cole Palmer's chance is easy, but Cole Palmer is a player who we think on his best day, which there have not been many of those this season, can produce the kind of world-class finish. And the difference is that his goes straight at Safonov, and Ousmane Dembele goes down the other end.
Yeah,
and makes,
it's a great goal.
We should say he makes Wesley Fofana look very silly indeed by the way he disguises that dribble and makes him think, okay, I am going to go. You can almost hear Ousmane Dembele saying, yeah, I am going to take this shot inside until I don't. And the way he pulls it back onto his right foot, that's the thing when we're talking about PSG, the quality of these goals. To be honest, I think you can go through the first four at least. I know that Barcola's goal takes a little nick on the way through. But again, the power and the technique that he strikes that at. And that's the thing that Chelsea can play well, but playing well against PSG isn't enough. And knowing that that's what damage they can do to you on the break, I think that's the thing is can you see Chelsea winning, even if PSG, like, the casualness, by the way, that Malo Gusto had space at the back post for the equaliser, where you're thinking, PSG, they aren't quite mentally as sharp and focused as last year. They've worked out an almost Real Madrid quality to them that maybe we do need to just invest this amount of effort to win. And there is that thing about them where, look, we've seen in Liga how close they're being run for the title there. But it's just difficult to see Chelsea stepping up to the necessary level to be as ruthless as they need to be to beat this PSG team.
Welcome to part two of the Guardian Football Weekly. So Arsenal got a late penalty. Madueke was fouled, was he, in the box? And Kai Havertz put the penalty away. Archie, you were there. Did you have a nice time?
I had a nice time. It wasn't a great game, but I know that this comes with the territory in how Arsenal want to play, how they want to have control of the game and control of the tempo. It actually reminds me of less vintage Xabi Alonso Leverkusen and how Xabi Alonso used to always not want any hectic, as he would put it. That the game was not to go back and forth. And I think that's simply what Mikel Arteta wants. He wants control of all phases. And the thing is that it was from switching off at the start of the second half when I saw the Arsenal players go into a huddle. And as a fan, when you see that, you think, oh, okay, they're really switching on now. And not only were they unable to switch on, Leverkusen made Raya make his best save of the game inside 10 seconds of kickoff. And then within a minute, they've scored from a corner where Kasper Hjulman, the Leverkusen coach, turns to Nicolas Hover, the Arsenal set-piece coach, to go, we can do blocking too. Because it's Eze who gets blocked off there. And also, because there's a fun sideline, is that Hjulman tried to sign Hover to the Danish national team when Hover was at Brentford. So there is some knowledge of each other. Point is, Arsenal didn't quite have enough flair. I would say that I was, even if I think that they have decided that they're going to play at this tempo, and actually long term, if you're going to try and go for as many trophies as they are, it's probably not a bad idea because they still do have enough and have been having enough to get over the line. But they had Robert Andrich on a yellow card after 5 minutes, and Andrich, with stricter European refs, could have got sent off. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I'm thinking, why are you not trying to target Andrich more, get the ball into Gyökeres more, and just put him in uncomfortable positions? And Martinelli hit the crossbar after that. And that's where I still think that you can have a bit more control and do a bit more with the game. Leverkusen were really good. Have to give credit to them as well. The way that Ernest Poku was able to track and keep up with Martinelli's dribbling. Not many people can do that. Fofana caused problems for Gabriel and Saliba. But I think from a Leverkusen point of view, especially because it's Kai Havertz who rolls in the penalty as well, which is another dagger to the heart, they probably had enough to hang on there. And the penalty, I'll let you pour over it.
Well, the challenge is ridiculous. The challenge is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You spoke to Madueke afterwards. I presume you checked if he was okay after that.
Yeah. I did, and he said, I felt contact.
Yeah.
And that was enough. And the problem is not Madueke. The problem is what football's become, in that it's not reliant on the feel of the game from the referee. It's reliant on which slow-mo replay you get. And there's one where you see that Madueke's foot gets caught under Tillman's back as he's sliding in. And actually, from there, you see that Madueke's left foot doesn't hit the floor again before he goes back down. But yeah, don't dive in is now what you have to say.
Yeah, he doesn't need to dive in, does he? I don't know, Nicky. How are your emotions as the most reasonable Arsenal fan on the earth? How are you feeling?
I don't know. I think it's really interesting as a contrast with some of the other football we watched and we've been talking about, because, as I say, I feel like this Champions. I mean, I need to be clear. I'm loving this Champions League, and I talk about it being off the rails. It's bonkers, but it's very, very entertaining, and it almost feels like Arteta this season is trying so hard to not let anything get out of his control. He's trying so hard to keep everything ordered and structured. And I wonder if it's causing the team just to, they look tight. They look almost too worried about everything. And in some ways, the fact that it's Madueke who wins that penalty, and I think Archie has analysed it very well, because I didn't think it was a penalty at all at first. And then the more you look at it, the more you can go, well, maybe. But
he's running at pace, etc.
Yeah. But the fact that it's him that causes it is almost indicative, because look, Bukayo Saka is Arsenal's best player. No one's questioning that. But he's a cerebral player. He is someone who thinks about the game, and who is one of his greatest strengths, I think, is his decision making a lot of the time. And it wasn't his best night. And what made something happen in the end was putting on a player, Madueke. I'm not trying to say that Madueke doesn't think about the game as well, but he's just direct. He'll just go. He'll just make those runs and try to make something happen. And it almost feels like that's a story in itself, that actually maybe just letting that hand break up a tiny bit and saying, okay, just do your thing, is what Arsenal need a bit of being told at this point of the season, because it does feel like the longer it goes, the closer we get to actually winning something, which still feels far too far away to me. But it feels like they're just getting tighter and tighter, and actually maybe that, if anything does go wrong, will be the reason why, is because they can't get out of their own way a bit.
I feel like we're constantly down on Arsenal on this podcast, and I'd love them to pull out a performance of a real swashbuckling nature and just absolutely swat someone aside, so we can go, oh, yeah, that was really good. But this was a bad performance, but a decent result. Mansfield at the weekend, bad performance, decent result. I can't remember the last time I watched Arsenal and went, whoa, that was really good. Probably Bayern Munich. That was a long time ago.
They did beat Spurs 4-1.
I was going to say, Dr. Spurs.
But at some point, you'd imagine they're going to have to seriously up their game, or they're going to start getting punished. But so far, it hasn't happened. Like, they were pretty unimpressive last night. Again, you'd imagine they'll win it at home in the second leg, but Bayer Leverkusen have already beaten Benfica, Man City and Olympiacos away in this tournament this season. So who's to say they won't win at the Emirates?
I just thought that that's the closest that we'll ever get to hearing what Barry would sound like if he was talking about England in a major tournament. Because the analysis fits so perfectly. When are they going to let the handbrake off? When are they going to play?
Barry would never say, what we need is a swashbuckling win. Like, that is the point where that analogy really falls down.
It's just the last thing we need.
Nicky?
I was just going to say, because we're focusing on Arsenal, I think Leverkusen before this it's like 6 clean sheets in the last 7 Champions League games. So there's worth saying that as well, right? It's not just a one-team game ever. And Leverkusen, unlike a lot of teams in this round, managed to do the one crucial thing that again, lots of people haven't been doing, which is just not do something stupid. We saw a lot of stupid things happen this round, and Leverkusen didn't do that, which always going to set you up to do better, isn't it?
AJ says, should we just assume that Bodo Glimt would win the Premier League? Mike says, if Bodo go further than Man City, does that mean they've saved football? Barry, the Nordic dream continues. I mean, this was so comprehensive. This is just like, it was so routine.
Yeah, and it wasn't a shock. I totally expected them to win, and they did easily. So they have a 3-0 lead to take to Lisbon. They're such a pleasure to watch. They're so well organised in defence. They're not afraid to sally forth on the attack. Their pass and movement is brilliant. I think it speaks volumes that if you'd asked me at the start of the season to name a single Bodo Glimt player, I wouldn't have been able to. Now I watch them and all these names are familiar. And they're just so good. And I really hope they win the Champions League. And as the way they're going, I wouldn't rule it out.
It is your birthday, Barry, so I shouldn't do can you name their starting 11 now? All their players are so familiar.
Well, there's the Hog, the Hulk, Sondra Fett, who sounds like a character from Star Wars.
Actually, Barry, I really thought of you when that penalty was given as just someone pushing someone over that they're never given, to the point where the Sporting players just couldn't believe it was given, and it was just, that is a push, and you are, that's one of your high horses, is the shove is a shove, and I presume you are utterly delighted to see that penalty given.
Well, it's a penalty. The argument is always that, is it enough of a push? But if you push someone in the back and prevent them from doing what they're trying to do, that is a foul, and it should be given.
Yeah. Archie, they make it all look so simple. Like, what is it that they're doing?
Timing of every attack and not being affected by the outside noise. They are just playing their own game, and you see it with the calmness with which they walk around the pitch at full time and take the acclaim from their fans. They still very much look like they're in the zone. And it's all the more amazing when I was going through their lineup last night and thinking, okay, so how many of these players have full international caps for Norway or for their country? And the answer is that the majority of the team have not got a full international cap. And not even, there's only 2 who have really been regulars for Norway in the last few years. And that hasn't really included Jens Petter Helge. He's had 12 international caps in total. And when you look at the Sporting side, it's a bit of a different case. Only 2 of them have not played full internationals for their country, and they're quite young, generally. 3 of them. And it's just, the strength in depth that Norway have coming into this World Cup.
Yeah.
Just field the Bodo Glimt lads, to be honest. They seem to be pretty well entwined with one another, and it is remarkable. I was doing the obvious thing in texting Lars last night, going, "What are they singing?" And he was saying that at one point they were singing, albeit tongue-in-cheek, about winning the Champions League. And yet, artificial pitch. You know what? Would like to see everyone go there and do this. Because also, what I think is impressive, is, particularly about this game, is that they still had, I think it was 49% possession in the end. So I think all of their victories have come from having less of the ball, which I know is very marginal here. But I think this is probably their win where they've had most of the ball. And I think probably the most expectations as well. But to come back to the original point, to shut out all those expectations and say we are just playing our own game, and to continue to create the volume of chances that they'll struggle not to go through now, you'd think. It's remarkable.
And good for them that the final actually this year is at Kenilworth Road in 1989. That should really help them, shouldn't they?
Can we talk about
one big blot on their copybook is that they failed to beat Tottenham.
Yes.
Worryingly for the rest of Europe, they're only the second best team in Norway because they didn't win the championship last season.
Yeah, Nicky?
Can we talk about Blomberg's backflip after his goal? I don't know if that's another advantage of your artificial pitch, but he gets some real clearance. Like when you watch it, he's not just a little bit. He's right up there. I think that needs mentioning.
That there is one downside for Bodo is that their domestic season is now starting. So
they might get tired.
What might that mean for them?
Yeah. Tonight in the Europa League, Forest are home to Midtjylland, Villa go to Lille. Lots of L's in that fixture. And in the Conference League, Palace home to AEK Larnaca. And that'll do. And we'll obviously won't mention those games on Monday because we'll just forget. But we'll try. We'll try our hardest. Welcome to part 3 of the Guardian Football Weekly. Just in the EFL, Coventry beat Preston 3-0 and now have won 6 on the spin. And they are now 8 points clear of Middlesbrough. Producer Joel thought the Google Doc was was glitching as he couldn't see Charlton's win over second place Borough at the top of the running order. Charlton beat Borough. 8 points between Coventry and Middlesbrough. And Middlesbrough now just 1 point ahead of Millwall in the race for the automatics. Big win for Oxford United last night at the Bottom. They beat Blackburn 1-0, just 1 point behind them. In 20th, level on points with Leicester in 21st. West Brom got a point against Southampton, so it is incredibly tight. It's West Brom on 37, Oxford 38, both in the relegation zone. Leicester 38, Blackburn 39, Portsmouth 40. Look, the weekend then, the title race is Arsenal at home to Everton at 5:30 on Saturday, and then City going to West Ham at 8 p.m. on Saturday. Barry, do you presume will be as you were by the end of play?
No, I don't know. Everton are wildly unpredictable. You would expect them to lose against Arsenal at the Emirates, but would it come as a massive shock if they got a result? I don't think it would. Everton on their day are really good. It's just picking that day is difficult. And West Ham City, I haven't a clue what's going to happen there. I literally have no idea.
Sorry to ask you for a prediction on your birthday of all days.
Two sides who are just wildly unpredictable. And I haven't a clue. Manchester City should, of course, beat West Ham, but do I expect them to? No.
Oh, for the love of Spurs, please, City. I can't have West Ham. I can't have us dropping into the bottom 3. Forest home to Fulham as well on Sunday at 2:00, and then Liverpool Spurs at 4:30. At time of recording, Archie, Igor Tudor is still the manager of Tottenham, which seems utterly, it's sort of incomprehensible. Like nobody thinks he should be the manager apart from the incredibly bad decision makers who are the decision makers at Tottenham. I've written a piece about this. There is an article on the website that says, Igor Tudor expected to be in charge for Liverpool. The subheading is Harry Redknapp rules himself out. A real human had to write that as a genuine piece of news copy. And I'm disappointed that Harry Redknapp's ruled himself out. That's where we're at now.
I listened to yesterday's pod, and what struck me is that through the show, your laughter gets more maniacal and desperate and hysterical, as if you can't believe that you're going ever further into this rabbit hole. And you... To be honest, Max, how do you feel?
Well, I mean, I don't mind because it doesn't affect me if they go down, I will be like, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I will be sad when they're not just on Match of the Day. That will be like, oh, this is shit. I've got to watch the EFL highlights. I watch them for League Two. I don't need them for the Championship as well. How do I feel? Do you know what? Even though I think there is such a high chance of them going down, because they've never gone down in my lifetime, there is just part of me that thinks they won't because it just doesn't happen, right? It's just not a thing that happens in football. And that is a really naive way to think, but it is how your brain kind of works. You just go, well, West Ham get relegated all the time. Nottingham Forest get relegated all the time. So one of those will get relegated. But, there's every chance that Romero and Paulinho are concussed. Right, they've got no players.
How would they tell?
Liverpool are not having a brilliant season, but they're not. They're a good football team. They're a football team that sort of function. They're a functioning team, right? I don't know. I am astonished that Tudor is still the manager. I can't believe it. The only logic could be they think we're not going to get anything in Liverpool, which is a bad way to think because there aren't that many games left. Let him have that and Atleti and then change it so that the vibes aren't instantly bad for Chris Hughton or Ryan Mason or whoever is. Glenn Hoddle, but Chaz or Dave, the surviving Chaz or Dave. I don't know. But it is astonishing. He's so it's just astonishing. It's just so astonishing. But I tend to find football now that I was saying to producer Ian before the show, if Cambridge win or Tottenham win, I'm happy. And if they lose, I don't mind. It's okay. I don't really expect either of them to win that often. But this is really bad. Anyway, Chelsea, Newcastle, Man U, Villa in those. That's a big game actually, Barry, at Old Trafford, isn't it, for those two?
Yeah, there are some games this weekend. I think I expect United to beat Villa, and I expect, Archie, Forest to beat Fulham. I'll be devastated if Liverpool don't beat Spurs. I don't expect them to. I probably do, but it's a big game. Villa are just missing key players through injury and midfielders, and they're tired. And I'd be surprised if United didn't win that one.
Just to follow up, Baz, I agree that I think Forest will beat Fulham, which is why I now think it won't happen, because Fulham tend to turn up suddenly out of nowhere when you least expect it. And yet, under Marco Silva, this time of the season, things always seem to go south. And there was a lot of criticism for the 9 changes last week. And I think it was worth criticising him, just not for the 9 changes, because there's, apart from Harry Wilson and Alex Iwobi, no one's really in form. So it's his job to get everyone in form. So he's more looking around the squad of, can anyone stand up? And the answer is no right now. But of what consequence is that when you're 10th with 40 points? And
it's all fine.
I mean, Silva got a lot of flack, and I think deservedly so, for fielding that team in against Southampton. But the team everyone wanted him to put out, or think he should have put out, did get beaten by West Ham the previous week. So Archie makes a good point.
Elsewhere then, Iran's sports minister Ahmed Doniamali has said that Iran cannot participate in the 2026 World Cup after the United States killed their leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Considering that this corrupt regime, the US, has assassinated our leader, under no circumstances can we participate in the World Cup, he told state television. Our children are not safe. Fundamentally, such conditions for participation do not exist. His comments come after the FIFA president Gianni Infantino, good old Gianni, reported that Donald Trump had said Iran were welcome to play at the upcoming tournament, despite the ongoing conflict. Infantino said during a meeting with Trump to discuss preparations for the competition, we also spoke about the current situation in Iran. During the discussions, President Trump reiterated that the Iranian team is, of course, welcome to compete in the tournament in the United States. Yes, I mean, Gianni, good stuff. That Peace Prize looking increasingly impressive, isn't it? We don't know yet how their replacement will be picked in the World Cup. Hank says, any plans to mention Iranian women's football team and what happened in Australia? Robin mentioned this story last week when they didn't sing the national anthem. And Women's Football Weekly's covered it in detail. The latest in Australia is that a number of the women's team have applied for asylum. 5 have been granted visas already, a further 2 applying. The 5 initial players, led by the captain Zara Gandbari, were formally granted protection in Australia by Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke on Tuesday morning. They've been given temporary humanitarian visas offering a pathway to permanent residency, and have already been given a chance to train with the A-League women's side, the Brisbane Roar. It follows protesters trying to block the team bus leaving for the airport. It's unclear what's happening with the rest of the squad at this stage. Did we all see the story of the a slightly different tack, the Barcelona fan who went to the wrong St James's Park and ended up in Exeter rather than Newcastle for the Barca game? But Exeter were playing Lincoln, so he did see that. Lincoln won 1-0 to extend their lead at the top. It's a slightly different results. Although, our friend Adam Hurrey from Football Cliche says he doesn't believe it.
I don't believe it. It sounds far too implausible.
Well, it does come up if you're typing it in on maps that would you like the Newcastle or Exeter version? Right. And you would think that given that Barcelona were playing Newcastle, that if he's driven there and he's using some sort of old sat-nav device,
right? Yeah.
Then okay. I have some understanding for it, because they can sometimes, just take you there and you don't see the town name.
That's true. There were the sat-nav days where people would just drive into a lake, wouldn't they, and go, well, the sat-nav took me here. And at some point, at what point when you entered the lake did you not think, this is probably not where I want to be?
Although, to be fair, while I don't believe this story, I am very much a hostage to sat-nav. If I'm driving, I will do whatever it tells me. No matter how much the evidence I can see in front of my own eyes suggests I shouldn't perhaps take herself at her word.
Nicky?
When I used to live in Stratford in East London, I definitely had a conversation with a group of American tourists who wanted me to point them to William Shakespeare's house, which of course is in a very different Stratford. So it definitely happens. That was a few years ago. Maybe the Google Maps weren't as strong then, but it was, definitely a thing.
Robbie says, my dad went to his grave firmly believing Barry was one of Ireland's greatest exports. Happy birthday, Baz. Thank you. There we are. No higher praise there, Baz. John says, happy birthday, Barry. I'm just
curious to know, were they his dad's last words?
Let's not push it. Happy birthday, Barry, says John. Some time ago on Football Weekly, you said you only washed your hair 3 times a year. I've always wondered, what were the special occasions that prompted your use of shampoo? Is your birthday one of them?
I couldn't tell you the last time I washed my hair, to be honest. I actually don't own a bottle of shampoo or conditioner. And I know Wilson also lives in similar follicle-related squalor. So I don't wash my hair. And to be fair, I'm 53 today. I'm still not grey and I still have a full thatch. So maybe there's something to be said for it.
Archie?
Can I just say, in tribute to Barry, that...
Yeah. He's still alive.
True that. I just realised today that this is really random. I always think of him when I have a banana because I think you did a bit. It was either on here or on TalkSport where Barry was like, I spoke to a fitness professional who told me that you should never have a banana after 3 p.m. And so every time I have a banana, I think of Barry's banana advice. I'm saying, is it after 3 p.m.? Oh, I'm risking it. I'm risking it a bit. And I just thought, the amount of hours I've listened to Baz talk about football, and this is the thing that stays in my head. So,
I don't remember ever saying that. I'm not saying I didn't, but...
No, we can't be one of those podcasts where we dole out fake health advice. That's not us, is it? I think, Archie, if you want to eat a banana after 3 o'clock, fill your boots, is what I would say. Joachim says, can I just wish Barry a happy birthday? Very humbly add, today is my birthday. A couple of years ago, he congratulated me on X before it went to shit. I really appreciated it. Lots of love from Norway. And Jody said, I remember starting to listen to Football Weekly during what my memory suggests was the 2010 World Cup. Having just discovered podcasts, I was thrilled to see that Jimbo was heading up this excellent weekly and then bi-weekly pod, having previously assumed that Channel 4 had locked him in a basement somewhere after the demise of Football Italia. When Jimbo left to go to the dark side, I spread myself thin, listening to both Max on Football Weekly and James on, well, that other show. But alas, it was all too much, and a difficult decision was made to ditch the man who lulled me into the world of football podcasts in favour of the new Rushden guard. I've never regretted it for a minute, not missing a single episode to this day. Oh, and Barry was there too. Happy birthday, Barry. Thank you, Jody.
Thank you.
And Ollie says, regarding Roy Hodgson's tour of Wiltshire, hi, Max and Co. You can imagine my surprise as I was listening to the latest pod from my home of Laycock to get a mention. I'm used to hearing and seeing the village on TV and film, thanks to its rich cinematic history, but I didn't know it was on the tour checklist of former England managers. Who's going to be next? Will I be seeing Gareth in his waistcoat in the bakery or Fabio Capello in the pub? I was wondering whether anyone on the panel today has an anecdote about seeing footballing royalty out and about in the wild where you least expect them. On a more serious note, do we think Roy is a National Trust member? Keep up the good work. Well, I mean, I've told it before, but I did bump into Damien Duff at the Wildlife Photography of the Year exhibition at the Natural History Museum. I was not expecting to see Damien Duff there, but that's the most in the wild I remember bumping into a footballer.
I reckon I've probably bumped into loads of footballers in the wild, but unless they're wearing full kit and have their name written across their shoulders, I'm not going to recognise them out of context.
You're right. You did a 6-week cruise with Sergio Ramos and didn't have a fucking clue, did you? That's the way it goes. Yes, Archie?
I thought I saw Alan Nil in Germany and I didn't.
Wow. Of all the bombshells to end today, it can't get better than that.
Well, you can indulge me on my birthday by allowing me to mention once again that I had a pint with Kylie Minogue and Michael Hutchinson, didn't know who I was talking to.
Yeah, it's very impressive. That's at the height of their fame as well. Yes, the absolute height of their fame.
Did they know who you were, though? They were regular listeners, I assume.
Of course, they love the pod. They were like, I love the pod. Why do you never mention Bristol City? That's what Kylie said. Anyway, that'll do for today. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Nicky.
Thanks,
Archie.
Cheers, Max.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
Football Weekly is produced by Ian Chambers and Jesse Howard. Our executive producer is Joel Grove. Me and Barry are off to Texas to crack America. We will be releasing that special live pod at some point, but Robin Cowan will be in charge for the next two. Don't be too good, please, Robin. Thank you so much. And we'll be back.
I bet she'll remember to mention the Europa League and Europa Conference League matches.
Robin will be back on Monday.